It's time for Push to Play, your weekly trophy podcast with Mindy and CJ.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us to episode 19 of Push to Plat. Boy, do we have a show for you today. We're going to be talking all things indie games with a fantastic guest. But just before I introduce her today, I would like to introduce my German horse-loving, game-playing expert extraordinaire, the wonderful The Mind is a City. How are you today?
It's good. So here's my question. Am I German and love horses, or do I love specifically German in your little scenario here?
Do you think you're the only person that's replayed that game twice?
I don't know, man. I had to. So last week, I got that awful error that it's something to do, and Sony still doesn't know what this is. Apparently, this has been around since the PS4 launched, and it's something to do with trophy syncing. And it just doesn't sync trophies. But also as a byproduct of it, most games that you try to open, even if you've played them before, will just crash and close out. So I couldn't play anything. So I had to reformat my entire PlayStation 4. And so I backed up most of my save files. I thought, surely Windstorm will not get DLC. Surely I am done with this game. And so I reformatted my PS4, and then, sure enough, Windstorm got some DLC.
That's a hell of a lot of work to go through just to play the game again, you know. You could have just restarted it.
I had to replay the game, because it didn't have a save file.
That's fantastic. So let's move along then to our wonderful guide writing master, indie extraordinaire, earthquake surviving guest for today.
But we just introduced me.
This is not about you. This is sorry, German horse racing expert. Velvet, we're going to get to you eventually, Velvet. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Look, I'm good. Mindy's good. I think we're great. You know, I want to thank you for coming along and joining us today.
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't we just find out a little bit about you first, if that's okay? What would you like to share?
Well, for those who don't not know, I am Velvet. I am a guide writer. That is my main squeeze when it comes to trophies that I have accepted. You can find me writing on basically all the trophy sites, PlayStationTrophies.org, PS3Imports.org, and PSNProfiles.com. Yeah, that's just my main gig.
Yeah. How long have you been writing guides for?
Oh, geez. I think I wrote my first one in 2014, so about 5 years now.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's quite a long period of time, and you also do some video work as well for some of your guides, don't you?
Yes. I also do videos, not for every guide, just ones that I see could probably use some, could benefit from them. But I do video guides as well as text guides. So
yeah, perfect. Okay, so that's the professional Velvet. Now let's find out about the real Velvet. So what type of games? what do you like to play? Like, what's your
velvet behind the velvet?
Ooh. I think is that the 50 Shades? I think I've read that. Anyway, let's.
Velvet.
Yes, that's right. Let's. So what genres do you like to play? What's your sort of favorite?
My main squeeze with genres is usually puzzle and platformers, mainly leaning towards puzzles. If it's something that people are just like, this is too hard, this is too much of a brain teaser, this is just too difficult to think about, that's usually when I'm like, step aside, guys. Like, let me try this. I want to step in and see if I can figure this out.
No, I like that. Can I ask, before we go any further, this could be a make or break on whether we go any further, listeners. Are you a Mega Man fan?
Oh, yes. Oh, Mega Man was born. Okay. I knew this before your last episode. Yeah, I knew this before the last episode of your show came out, but you guys were doing that trophy questionnaire. Well, CJ was asking the questions and Mindy and Chris were answering. and it was like, what year did Mega Man come out? And in my head, I was like, 87, 87. Like, Mega Man and I are the same age. So,
Oh wow.
yeah.
That's good. That's a good way to say it, right? Yeah.
But no, I used to play Mega Man all the time when I was younger. So definitely a big fan.
Are you like me, where you find that your reflexes are kind of aging out of the original Mega Man games?
Kind of. Well, my problem is that this is going to come as a surprise to none of my friends. I have broken my left hand multiple times in the past X amount of years. So my reflexes in that hand are a lot slower than in both.
Is that from playing Mega Man? That's
Oh yeah,
happening?
definitely. It's all from playing Mega Man.
Oh wow.
I strained myself.
That
way
game is a
too hard.
bludgeon that hurts.
But it's not that my reflexes are slow. It's just that my hands don't work as well as they used to. But I still love games like that. So I definitely try. I try.
I still like platformers too, but like the old Mega Man games were kind of brutal. Like
They are definitely hard.
It was definitely kind of pixel perfect timing you had to have with it, where I think modern one's a little more forgiving.
Oh, definitely. But like, I don't know. It's all we had back then, and I kind of use this as a defense for those kind of games. Like, you had the time to sit there and just hammer through it, and the games themselves are pretty short. They're like 4 or 5 hours or so. So basically,
I'm not blaming these games at all. I'm just saying I'm just doing a comparison.
But I feel like we put more effort into those games when we were younger versus nowadays, where it's just like, oh my god, like, why am I struggling through this when I can just play this other game that I'm not struggling through?
Play something else.
Okay, so seeing we've established that we're already off to a rocky start, let's see if we can just put the nail in the coffin. Do you know what the word Metroidvania means?
Oh, kind of.
Good. Well, don't tell me. So look, it can't get any better, listeners. We've talked about Mega Man and Metroidvania. You know, what else could you possibly want from this week from us? Mindy's just sitting there laughing, I'm sure.
I will get a Metroidvania expert on this show.
Sure.
I will.
Okay.
I will source one and I will get one on here, and you will be forced to talk to him or her.
Well, you know, the internet in Australia is incredibly dodgy. So what week were you planning on doing that? And I'll just line something up. I'm
going to surprise you. I actually saw an article that said that Australia's internet is worse than Kazakhstan now.
Yes, that's impressive, isn't it?
Oh, no.
Is it just because the vast geography of just nothing in between, settled areas? Or why is it so bad?
Look, I don't know. I mean, that's a question for the government, and they don't seem to be able to answer it either. So, that article was alarming. Yes.
Yeah. CJ, in your defense, I feel like I've been calling Metroidvania games pixelated platformers, like 2D pixelated platformers forever, not realizing that there was an actual term for it.
Oh.
So.
It's a wonderful word, isn't it? You know, just use it whenever you like. That's what I do.
Metroidvania. This is a Metroidvania.
What's your other new favorite word? Cryptonesia.
Cryptonesia. Look, I'm learning tons of catenate on the end of that one, I think. Tons and tons of new words. So look, that is fascinating. Now, also, we were remiss because we have a question come in, but you're also a Vita player. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Good. So would you like to read the question, Mindy?
Sure. Now, this has come in from the lovely Chris Dow, who was our guest last week, and who we never actually gave a last name. We just gave him one name, Chris, like Cher or Madonna or Sting, because we got to get a guy in there.
It's good company.
And he has asked, how long do they reasonably expect the Vita to get new releases? And by they, I think he means you, Velvet. Like, because I put out a call on Twitter, push2plat, the number 2, and I said, our guest this week knows quite a bit about Vita, or I should say spends a lot of time with Vita. Do you have any Vita specific questions? So let's throw that to you, Velvet.
For this one, there's like 2 parts to this question, because a lot of people look at it as, because Japan's about to stop producing Vitas in Japan, so that will be the final end all be all of Vita production when that stops. But that doesn't mean it's going to be the death of Vita. So in my opinion, I think we still have maybe 2-3 years tops for game releases, and it's not really up to Sony, because as long as the indie developers still continue to make games for the Vita, then Sony will still publish them because they're still going to make their money. They're not really losing anything out of it because they're not producing anything from it. Like no consoles are actually being made. So it's all profit for Vita at this point. So I don't think they're going to kill it completely. I do think that we're going to get a couple of more years out of the Vita, to be honest. I hope so. I really hope so.
We got several years of the PS3 after they, granted, like 80% of it was just the yearly sports games, but we got a couple more years out of the PS3 after they stopped producing all PS3s, didn't we?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. They stopped producing. Yeah, I want to say it was about three, maybe 4 years after the PS3 like stopped production, and we were still getting games. I think the last PS3 digital game came out in January of 2018. So you're talking PS4 came out, what, 2013, 2014? So in that time, all those games kept coming out. So I think the Vita will be okay. I really think it will.
I hope so too. It's like the biggest tragedy of this generation.
Oh, it's so
If I
sad.
speak in
It's so
hyperbole here,
sad.
but it's tragic what they did to that console.
How long do you think, though, or do you think we've reached the point where there won't be new games? Like, I mean, most of what we see on the Vita now is ports, either from various port houses or mobile ports from Kenko and things like this.
That depends. It all depends. It depends on the developers, because a fan favorite of this show, Radalika, is they are one of the few that will still port to the Vita. Oh shoot, what is their name? Oh, I can't think of it. Poppyworks is another one that ports specifically to the Vita and to the Switch. So if developers can find a publisher that does porting, then you will definitely see new games come out to the Vita. It's just a matter of if they're willing to go the distance to do that, if they're willing to reach out to those publishers to do so. But I feel like it's sometimes more trouble than it might be worth. But as a Vita fan, I don't think it is. But that's me being selfish and really wanting the games. But yeah, developers just have to reach out to the right publishers to get that to happen. And even physical releases, they can reach out to Play Asia or East Asia Soft and get their games released that way. But yeah, it's just extra steps to get it to the Vita now.
It will be interesting. It seems a shame. Like I was on the Switch store the other day, and a lot of these games are coming to the Switch, obviously, as well. These games that are being ported to the Vita, but there's just a stack of little games like that on the Switch now that are not on the Vita that obviously could be, because the specs are very similar between the two machines. So it's a shame that I think it's what you say. A lot of the devs and the port houses are already moving across. So. Yeah, I suppose we will just have to wait and see. But if there's money to be made, hopefully we'll be. Do you just have one Vita, or do you have a spare?
I have two Vitas.
So
technically.
you feel a bit more comfortable knowing that it's going to be harder to get them.
Well, I say technically because one of them is like on life support. It doesn't turn on unless it's plugged in, and it needs to be plugged in for about an hour before it even turns on.
So it sounds like the internal battery is failing.
It is, yeah. Well, that and I let my neighbor's kid borrow it, and they dropped it, and it.
That's on you, though.
Yeah, I know. That's not on them. That's not on Sony. That's on me. I received a new one in December by some very lovely people. Very, very lovely people.
I remember that. I remember when that happened, actually.
Yeah, just I almost cried. But I don't know if we knew at the time how hard it would be to find a new Vita. So nowadays, if you're looking to get into the games, if you're looking to buy one, you're going to have to fork over extra money for it. You're probably going to have to import one. Without a doubt. Just hope it's.
You mean a new one? How's the secondhand market, like GameStop or eBay or Amazon? It's not like.
Well, GameStop does not sell Vita anymore. At least in the States, they don't sell Vita anymore.
Really? Because my local one still has it's a tiny little corner, and it's just sharing shelf space.
Is that game community or actual the
with a
Vita
bunch of
itself.
peripherals, but
We're
there are
talking,
definitely some
yeah.
games there.
Oh man. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, nowhere within, I think they said 117 miles of my local GameStop. Nowhere do they sell Vita games, and to get a Vita console, I have to go over 2 states to actually get one from a GameStop. So everything for it is online now. Yeah.
So definitely the time to move
Yeah.
if you want one.
I'm actually looking this up right now because now I'm like, well, damn, I got to get a second
Yes.
Vita.
Yeah, if
And
you're gonna get one, or if you're gonna get a second one, or even a third one, God willing,
because
now's
I
the
love my
time.
Yeah.
Vita.
Oh yeah, Vita. Oh my God,
Mm.
yes.
Well, and it's good timing, and I'll talk about this in a later episode. But coming up is I live in the Midwest, and Missouri Game Con is coming up in I think a month, and it's the biggest, mostly retro game convention in 3 states. So people from like Ohio and Illinois, and even like Oklahoma, like that kind of center of the Midwest, they all come to this convention, and maybe I should take a look out for a Vita there.
Maybe, maybe.
I'd rather buy it from someone I know took care of it as opposed to, you know, crapshoot it with an online seller.
Yeah, I can only imagine that with them going out of production, and this is just an absolute like. I can only hope that they did this, and it would only make sense for them to do it. But with the announcement that Japan is going to be stopping production of the Vita completely, I'm really expecting East Asia, or not East Asia, Play Asia, to really stock up on the Vitas and eventually even maybe do more giveaways for the Vita. So if you don't follow them on Twitter, I think this is a really good time to start doing so, because I can see them
Or
helping.
hey, maybe Soldier Boy will finally
Yeah.
be able to sneak in his handheld console
I
there
hope
and
so.
find a market.
Oh,
That
bless his
that would
heart.
be
Bless his
fantastic.
heart.
Good. So, listeners, if you don't have a Vita, then I don't know what you're doing. Definitely, it is the time to make a move on that now. If you're still off the island, I suppose. So, why don't we shuffle across to what we've been playing? And Velvet, would you like to kick us off today? What have you been playing?
I have been playing a lot of. Oh, sorry, I just hit my mic. I'm going to do that again. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I have
That's
been
right.
playing a lot of really random and variety games, especially in the past week. One's not showing up, which I'm still kind of bummed about. Bring Them Home should be on this list, but it's not synced to Sony servers yet, so it's missing.
That's been happening more and more lately.
More and more. You've noticed that too, right? Like,
Yeah.
almost annoyingly. Like, I don't want to be annoyed about it, but it's been happening more than I feel like it should be happening, and I don't know how to fix it.
There's nothing you can do. Sony only updates once a week, right? So
Yeah, so I'm waiting until Tuesday, so tomorrow, to see if they fix it or resync it up. But the game came out in May, so I'm just like, okay, it's been over a month. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
what was like what was it? Another site, right?
Oh yeah, that was one, and then Death Coming was
That was like
another one.
2 months, and
Yeah.
it just hit the servers like last week,
Oh,
right?
that this super Japanese. I think it's a VN. I want to say it's Tokyo Tattoo Girls was the name of it, but that was released in summer of 2017, and it didn't sync the servers until over a year later.
You're joking.
No, so that's the longest one that
They're
I know.
usually not that bad. Usually it's a week,
Oh, it was
maybe
pretty
2.
bad. It was pretty bad. Oh, Tokyo Tattoo Girls. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. But yeah, so I'm waiting for that to come up. But CJ, to answer your question, it is a puzzle game where you have to lead astronauts into safety and avoid hazards and all this other stuff with it. It's pretty cool. It's a little challenging, like brain teasing challenging. So I definitely dig it in that sense.
Can you enlighten us? Because you would be able to see. Is it a 100% game or a plat?
It is not a platinum. It is 100% only. It'll take you This is the hard part to say, like, it'll take you this amount of time. There are no videos available for the level solutions in this game until today. Like, it came out on Android, I think about a year ago, and it's been ported to the Switch. And oh my gosh, I probably spent, I would say, about 18 plus hours on the game just trying to find the solutions to all the levels. So if you're doing it without a guide, expect to put some time into it. If you're doing it with one, you could probably spend about 4 hours and get it done. Like, it's
Okay.
definitely cuts down.
We'll look out for that one, definitely. Can I throw, I know you haven't played a lot of it, so I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but I know Mindy was interested in this game. We the Revolution. Could you share some light on this?
Yes. Oh, I was hoping you would talk about that one. I love this game. Okay.
So how off the mark was I? Because when we talked about it, I said it reminded me of Papers, Please.
Kind
How
of.
off the mark was I here?
You were pretty close.
Was it really? Yes.
Yeah. So it's the same concept in that you are making the decisions that affect everybody around you, except instead of a border crossing guard, you are a judge to a city. So you can essentially hang a revolutionary leader, or you can hang somebody that, like, the people hate, just like, let him die, hang him. And you can hang him and make them happy, but at the same time make enemies with other political leaders. Like, it's so intertwined and crazy in that sense. Like, those 2 out of 39 trophies do that no justice. Like, this.
And will the game tell you if you were right or wrong
No,
in
there
doing
is
these
no
things?
right and wrong.
Like, didn't Papers,
Yeah.
Please say, hey, you should not have let that person through,
Well, that's
you
the
missed
thing.
something?
There is no right and wrong in the game. There is, you can go with your heart, you can go with your head. There is no, oh, I should have gone with the citizens or whatever. It's what you feel is right, I feel, is how you should play the game. But if you want to be,
So it's more like the council in that regard. The council was that kind of same way where there was no right or wrong way, but what you did affected your relationships with other people and could conceivably block off parts of the game to you.
I didn't play that game. I do know that if you go too much against the revolution, like if you go too far against what the people want, they will turn against you and start rioting and start killing, like, the guards and the police and like political officials. Like, just, they will go out of their way to make statements based on your decisions. So
Will they sing while they do it?
sometimes, yeah, actually.
Really?
Yeah, there are cutscenes of people singing. So it definitely does that. But at the same time, if your jury decides that somebody is guilty and wants them to hang, and you're just like, okay, that's a bit harsh, like, we'll just send them to jail, we don't need to hang them, that entire jury will turn against you. And the next time that you have a court or like a trial, they will sit there and just be like, you suck, you absolutely suck. Like, why are you a judge? Like, they make you feel so guilty about your decision.
Just in so much contempt of court.
Yeah. And then you have your family behind you that wants you to go a certain route as well. So it's a lot of emotional strings being pulled throughout the game, but I absolutely love it and I really highly recommend it. It is grindy trophy wise, but playing it is just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, why am I a judge? I didn't sign up for this.
But you think once someone's kind of gotten a whole handle on it, that it'll be more of a streamlined thing?
Kind of, yeah. So you have everything you need in front of you. Like, you have all the evidence, you can question the people in front of you, get all the information that you can out of them, and then make your decision based off of that. So it's a lot of repetitive in that sense.
Mhm.
And then it's a lot of choosing sides. Like, they make you choose sides a lot in the game. So you really have to balance which way you're going with it.
Try to be Switzerland while in France.
Kind of, yeah. Just like, okay, this time I'll choose the revolution. This time I will choose the government. This time I will choose the revolution. Like,
That's interesting. I definitely want to play this game when
yeah,
someone
I
has
highly
written a
recommend
guide
it.
for it.
Working on it. Working on it.
No, I want to throw out the Padre, because we talked about this a little while ago on the podcast, and I had heard nothing about it until we recorded the podcast, and then I watched it. And you have almost platinumed it.
Almost. The second I saw the trailer, I was like, this looks like Minecraft. And I was like, it's a horror game based on Minecraft. And it's like, it's a horror puzzle game based on Minecraft. I'm just like, give me this game. Like, I absolutely need this. This is a really, really good game. If you are a fan of the old Resident Evil games where you had to kind of find the clues to move forward, just like, I need this key, but how do I get this key? And then you see this clue and it's like, oh, okay, I gotta follow that clue to go get this. It's a lot of that.
Is it more kind of Silent Hill spooky
Kind of.
horror, or more like Resident Evil running from stuff horror?
I never played Silent Hill. Yeah, I never played Silent Hill. So I don't I feel so horrible saying that. You're not really fighting things, so to speak. You do come across enemies that you can easily just take down, like give them a few punches or
Mhm.
shoot them if you have a gun. But as far as like fighting things off, there's not so much of that. It's more of just trying to navigate yourself through the mansion.
So more like the old Alone in the Dark games. It sounds
Kind
like.
of, yes. More so that.
Not the
More-
PS3 one, but the originals.
Yeah. So yeah, it's puzzles within puzzles. That's the basic way I know to explain it. Like, you can't complete some of them without doing others. And you have to pick up everything, look in every nook and cranny, pick up every clue that you can in order to move forward. But as you can see, I am missing 2 trophies. One of them is a platinum. One of them is a mirror related trophy. So this game is currently bugged. The developers are aware of it. They are working on a fix. So hopefully that comes out soon, because I know people won't want to play it because it is bugged. But I do recommend playing it, even if not for trophies. I think it has a lot of value as a game in and of itself. So I hope people play it.
Definitely on my list. And there's a couple things here, but I think maybe we talk about them a bit during spam of the week. It looks like, unless I'm missing my guess here.
Well, the only other one that I would like to mention, just because it doesn't look like it's new, but it kind of is. I know you guys don't talk a lot about DLC a
Mhm.
lot on this one. Portal Knights is
The only
technically an
reason we
indie
don't
game.
talk about DLC is because you can't get to it in the first 5 minutes of playing the game. So I really don't know.
Well, this one, no, this you can.
Oh,
This you
okay.
can.
Please.
This one you can start the game and play the DLC as you wish. Like, you don't have to go out of your way for it. So Portal Knights is an incredibly fun open world adventure game that you can play solo, you can play with friends, and it recently got its first DLC pack. And this has been long awaited. 505 Games has been very patient with everybody begging them for DLC. Finally got the chance to check it out, and it is fantastic. It is really hard. It is difficult. I recommend playing it with a friend. But if you have Portal Knights, especially if you have the Platinum already, I highly recommend getting the DLC, because it's so much better.
This was a PS Plus game, I think, wasn't it? Portal Knights.
It
recently?
was
Yeah.
January. It was released on
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus.
Is the DLC, do you get this for free, or do you just buy this on the store?
No, the DLC was I want to say it was $8 in the US. So it's not too expensive, but it is well worth the money. So
I got one more I want to make CJ talk about, but it sounds like you have a follow-up question.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, just for our listeners, you said you can play it early on. So would you recommend getting the DLC at the time you sort of start the game? Like, do you work on them at the same sort of time, or just do the game then the DLC?
you can. So with the base game, there were 3 characters. You had the ranger, the mage, and the warrior. And then with the DLC, they added the rogue. So if you get the DLC, you can start the DLC before anything else and just level up the rogue. And then the new area, like the rifts and everything, are available from the start. It's just a matter of if you're a high enough level to complete them. So in theory, you can do the DLC before you do the base game. So it's just a matter of what character you want to use and what class you want to use for it. So it doesn't block you out or anything.
If you're going to do that, then it might be a good idea to pick up both the game and the DLC at the same
time. Definitely.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mindy, you had a question?
Yeah, the last one I want to talk about, at least the last one I want to talk about, you can also talk about more, is, and I'm doing this mostly because it's going to piss CJ off. I want to talk about Super Skullomania.
Super Skullomania, the Metroidvania game.
Yes, it is.
Or is it a two pixel platformer?
It's a side-scroller pixel platformer.
It is, isn't it? There's a subtle difference here why this isn't a Metroidvania, but I'll let you explain that yourself.
Really, I don't know the difference.
Well, either do I, but I thought I'd set you up there for a bullshit answer.
I just considered it a Metroidvania because that's what the description of the game said.
I'm going to let you speak about this, but can I just say I enjoyed the first 5 minutes of this game, but would you like to give us a bit more in-depth view of it?
Yes, so this is, if you're looking for a game that kind of takes you back to the old NES games of collect this, find the secret room, those sort of platformer games, because it's 2D. As you can see, there's no like fancy graphics or anything. I had a lot of fun playing this. A lot of fun. The one thing was the speedrun trophy to beat the game in 17 minutes.
I was gonna say it's a Metroidvania with a time trial, like a kind of strict one,
Super
right?
strict.
Like a 20-minute,
Super strict.
17-minute time trial.
Yeah, so I touched on this before, but I don't mind talking about it again because again, I loved this game. I highly recommend it to people who have not heard of it or have not seen it. Check it out because it is worth the couple of bucks that you'll spend on it. There is a trophy for completing the game in 17 minutes. Now, you can do this all in one run, but to do so, you have to play the game absolutely perfectly. Every jump, every run, everything has to be absolutely perfect to get it within that 17 minutes. Or you can save scum it. Which is what I did. So you can use the autosave feature. It autosaves every time you go into a new room. So you can practice that room, exit out of the game, start it back up, and restart at the beginning of that room, and then just continue forward. So it gives you a chance to like practice and then actually do it. But I did try to do the speed run in one go because I didn't know that was a feature that you could do, and I spent 8+ hours trying to get it.
Wow.
So again, it's not easy by any means. So but I recommend it. I highly recommend it. Like, it's a good challenge. It is a really good challenge and a really fun game. It's a fun game.
So what do you reckon, Mindy? You up for that challenge?
Eventually.
Eventually.
So, my problem with that is it takes me 17 minutes to get my chair ready, my drink poured, my blanket on my legs, the TV going, turning on the system. I would have no chance.
Well, the good thing is that the game itself is small. So you're basically memorizing the route that you need to take, which sounds like it would be a lot, but it's not that bad. Like, it's honestly not that bad. There's 5 levels in the game, 5 worlds, 6 worlds, all super small, nothing super crazy. You don't have to do any fancy go through the secret door and the secret passage. Like, it's all pretty straightforward. So it's just a matter of putting the time in to get it done.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, and actually, listeners, there is a 2 stacks of that game I see. So I imagine if you figure out how to do it in one, you're probably quite easy to do the second one for you. So,
yeah, it's tempting. Tempting. Tempting.
Definitely. Mindy, what have you been been playing apart from your German horse adventure this week?
Which to add on to Velvet here, that is also DLC. You do not have to finish the entire game
Oh,
to
see?
get.
There you go.
CJ, it'll take you about 10 minutes of playing to get to the DLC.
Mm,
Because you got to get the bow and arrow, and that's like 4 missions into the game.
good. So
But after that,
is this DLC free or is it?
yeah, it's
open to
free.
all?
They
Okay,
they
cool.
just tacked it on when they updated the game,
Excellent.
which I think was a very, very good move.
Yes, I do too, because it's on the German store, so nobody wants to buy more German currency if they don't have to. That's fantastic. So also, we should congratulate you, because at the time of recording, you are the only person in the world to have 100%ed this game.
Oh, snap.
That is true. I cannot take sole credit. I had help.
Okay.
I reached out to, at the time, there were 2 other people who had earned any of the DLC trophies. One of them, their settings were such that I couldn't message them. The other person, _May, who is from Germany, because this is a German game. I said, because one of the trophies is to find scarecrow hats. There's 25 scarecrow hats dotted around the map. And I messaged him and I said, I have found 20 of these. Here is the map that I've put together. Please tell me you have found the 5 that I'm missing. Right? And he had found 3 of them.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh, yeah, he had taken screenshots. He was such a gem. He was like, here are the screenshots I have taken for the things that you are missing. And then just while I was playing, getting one of the other trophies, I literally stumbled across the 24th one. And I took a screenshot. I was like, I found it. And I messaged the guy and I was like, we have 24. And he messaged me. He said, I messed up because I looked at your map and I realized you had marked one I didn't have. So now I have 25. So I think he has.
Oh, snap.
I think he has. We'll see once he syncs his trophies. He may have gotten the 100% before I did, but I don't know. It could be that he just recognized it as opposed to just going in and collecting it himself. I don't know. But then I took to the Steam forums and I was like, here is my map. There are 24. Someone please tell me where the 25th is. And someone on the Steam, like the only person who's talking about this game on the Steam forums, sent me a screenshot. He was like, I did find the one that you're missing, and here it is. I was like, yes!
That's perfect.
And because I did not buy this game on Steam, I was not able to post my entire map up under like the guide section on Steam. So I just put the missing one on the map, and I upload the picture, and I kept the topic, and I said, here's all 25 of them. I bought this on PS4, so I can't post this under the guide section, but hopefully this will be helpful.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. And then played a little bit of spammy stuff, stacked Perils of Baking.
Oh, I love that game.
But what I've been playing mostly this week is Stranger Things 3. I said I was going to day one it, and I did.
How is it? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I like it. It's not bad. It's not brilliant. I don't think it's going to make any game of the year lists. I wouldn't call it bad at all. I think it's fun. It follows the season 3 story surprisingly closely. So definitely, because you know how a lot of licensed games will take a lot of liberties. This one does not. So
Put a spoiler alert on it.
Oh, it's definitely spoilers. Like and they've broken it down into episodes, so it might actually be kind of fun to watch an episode like they did with the Grand Tour game, like watch an episode and then play that episode in the game. But it's a nice.
It doesn't come with the show though,
No.
does it? Or
No, it does not.
no? Okay, sorry.
That would be awesome though. For $20, you get the game and
that would
season
be.
3 of Stranger Things. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just before you go on, listeners, if you do buy this game for some unusual reason, only Sony would know the answer to this. The game is $20 US, but it's like almost $50 Australian, so it's
You're
about $15 to
joking.
$20 hike in
Yeah.
the EU stores. So make sure you buy it.
No,
in your
I heard
NAs.
about that.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
joking.
Even in the EU accounts are stupidly high as well. Like for some reason, the prices are just all over the place. It's the first game that I've seen that has had that much discrepancy between prices. It's
That's
crazy.
insane.
Mm.
Oh, that is not cool.
No.
That is not. See, that's actually making me double check the price to see if I just got it at a really good price. Like sometimes it glitches and it puts a game up
Yeah.
for free when it's not supposed
No,
to, and you kind of jump on it.
That is correct. Yeah, I don't know why either. So it plays. How does it play? What's the gameplay like?
It's a top down. I don't really know how to explain this one. Some people have likened it to like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, which is not incorrect, but not fully correct. It's correct in that you're you've got this map and you're just kind of working your way around picking up whatever you can. Whereas Zombies Ate My Neighbors, you picked up whatever you could because those were the weapons you had at your disposal. For Stranger Things, you're picking up stuff for craftings, and that's how you increase your stats or your attack power or your defense, things like that.
Is it like RPG almost?
Not really. Once you unlock characters, you can use them whenever. You can just use the trigger button and swap to whatever character you want. A lot of them have special things to help you navigate through the world. Like Joyce, the Winona Ryder character, has bolt cutters. So suddenly you can start cutting through a bunch of fences that have been blocking your path. One of the kids has a bomb ability, so you can clear away boulders. One of them can hack electronic panels, so you can get past locked doors. Things like that. But you don't level up. It's just you either craft, an upgrade that gives you an extra 200 hit points while it's equipped, or you don't. Nothing like that. So I would say if you want to say RPG, it would be RPG light.
I'm just surprised on the top-down part of it. Like, I'm surprised that they did that.
I don't know. I think it's because the developer is mostly used to mobile games, and it's a lot easier to program like that.
Okay.
It makes sense. I have seen some people have been kind of annoyed by the art style because it's a pixel style. It's like a 16-bit throwback, and I'm surprised because first of all, I'm like, have you seen the show? Like, it's set in the 80s. Of course, it's not going to be this super polished, 4D HD CGI monstrosity. They're going to make a pixel art game. Like,
they're going to throw it back.
Yeah, of course they are. If they wanted to be really, really, really period specific, it would be 8-bit and not, 16-bit with kind of color gradients in it.
What are the trophies like? Are there missable trophies? I see you're basically finished the game.
So here's the thing is I don't know if there's missable stuff yet. I have a feeling about half of the list is missable. What it boils down to is there free roam at the end of the game? And if there is, do they spawn whatever side quests you didn't do in each chapter?
Oh, I see.
I feel like that's the worst part about guide writing.
Right? Oh, I know.
That
It's
chance,
scary.
just like, do I finish this and just take the chance to see if there's free roam, or do I just do
So I'm in luck because I have unlocked every trophy that I have kind of flagged as potentially missable because about half of this list is tied to just side quest stuff. So the list is actually pretty basic. It's there are a couple of trophies for doing story missions. Not all the story missions, just some of them. Almost all of the side missions have their own trophies. So I mean, there's not that many side missions either. There's probably 12. There's not a ton at all. And then the rest of the trophies are like unlocking the different characters. There are 12 characters. 11 of them you have to unlock anyway. So that is 11, actually 10, because 2 of them got their own trophy or had to double up for a trophy. So that's like 10 free silver trophies. Only one character who is Will, who is an optional character unlock. But this is a two playthrough platinum, and that's the kind of bummer.
Oh, it's so required. Absolutely
required. So the first time you just play through the normal story mode.
But that's good though. So you can play for fun and then play for cleanup, basically.
Well,
no,
not really, because the second playthrough it says beat the game on New Game Plus. This game's New Game Plus is called Eliminator, and it is permadeath mode.
Oh, Jesus.
So you start the game with, but it works a little differently. 'Cause you start the game with all 12 characters unlocked, right? So it's not like you have to go find them again and all of a sudden the special abilities don't matter anymore because there's permadeath. Everyone has the bolt cutters, everyone can hack the doors, everyone can blow up the rocks, etc., etc. The stuff that you need to navigate through, everyone can do that. But once your character dies, they're gone. They're off your roster, you can't use them anymore. For about 85% of this game, that's not a problem. There's a really weird difficulty spike at the end of the game that I'm still kind of fighting against. I just kind of got surprised. I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, now you're getting serious. This was a fun little romp and now I actually have to pay attention to what I'm doing here."
Is there a save game feature on that run, or is it like a one run? No save
I
type
don't
thing?
know. I think you can probably save state it,
Yeah.
not save state it, but back up your autosave. I hope so.
I
Otherwise,
see.
I might be
That
boned
could be tough. Yeah.
in the back half of that game.
Oh, well, we will.
But
We'll
I'm still
find
having
out.
fun with it. I still like it. The guide is mostly written because that's how I do my guides.
Ah, you're
Dang
writing it.
And I hope to have it up a couple hours after we finish
Oh,
recording
excellent.
here.
But I mean, that's kind of cool that it's like permadeath, but they give you characters which are technically lives in that sense.
Yeah,
Like you just
exactly.
lose the character. So that's kind of cool. Like it's not technically permadeath, but at the same time, just
No, but the characters have different fighting styles. So honestly, I have been playing this game, the majority of this game, with the girl characters. I find them better at fighting, and it's because most of the guys, they either have a melee that's too short ranged or a projectile attack that doesn't
really do
deal.
much.
Yeah, like the damage is not worth.
The time spent doing it. Like,
Exactly, especially because you fight a lot in closed quarters, so you might as well just melee it and get the extra
yeah.
damage, you know?
Mhm.
But I like it. I'll probably talk a little more about it
Mm.
next week when I've finished the New Game Plus run and see how that goes.
Yeah, sounds good. It doesn't seem to be selling very well at the moment, I see. But I mean, it's only new, so that might change. Yeah.
Well, I know people are waiting because people know that it's going like side by side with the
Yes.
new season. So I know
Yeah.
people are like waiting to
Yeah,
play it
with season. That
before.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent. That's a good contrast there, Mindy.
I play real games
Between
too.
those two, I like it. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying. Like your list is looking, yeah, surprisingly. There's no PS3
CJ's
here,
turn.
though. Indeed, it's a shame. Anyway, it is what it is, isn't it? Yeah. Well, look, my turn. I haven't been playing anything this week, really. I've just been playing Assassins still. So I think I've fallen quite hard into that game. So we've talked quite a bit about that game in the last couple of weeks or so. So I don't think really have anything else to add other than I did finish the main story. That was an effort. I tell you what, you're not finishing this game in an hour at all. At all. But look, it's great. I enjoyed it.
I think a round of applause that you finished it, man. Like that's not something you say
Look,
very
to be
often.
honest, I actually liked the last. Was it like sort of chapters 7, 8, 9? I quite enjoyed the story, how it progressed through that last section. So, and I know there's other quests and other storylines, but yeah, I did quite enjoy it. And I think this will take me ages because like I haven't really looked at the guide, so I don't really know what's coming up now. I'm just going around doing all the question marks, so it's very slow progress or whatever. But I mean, some like as you would know, Mindy, some of the quests or little side quests are like they're fully fleshed out. Like they have cutscenes and a story behind them as well, and not trophy related or whatever, but still quite interesting. So I'm enjoying that. And then the only thing I did do, which I would recommend listeners, if you still haven't played this game and you're going to, you probably have, is to make sure you download the DLC as well, because I didn't realize, but there's a couple of ability related trophies that you could be. They're not strenuous by any means. They're sort of like 10 use the ability 10 times. But if you download the DLC, you can actually get those trophies while you're still just playing the base game. It carries across. So I mean, I mean, it will be nothing. I'm sure you'll get it in the DLC either way, but it could be a long time between trophies in that game. So every little bit helps, I think. So yeah, but look, it's great. And I finished up last night with the Medusa fight, which I thought was fantastic. So I won't go into that because if you haven't played it, that's a highlight. But look, I don't know. It's a shame actually because there were a lot of games that I was hoping to get into this week. Final Fantasy 14, that I just haven't really. And I mean, the other one as well was this Sea of, which I didn't mention last week, the Sea of Solitude, which is I don't know why I haven't started. It's been on the system now for a few days, but look, once this Assassin's business gets out of the way, look, it's at 39%. That is alarming. Definitely need to slow down there, listeners. Then I can try some other things as well. But yeah, look, that's really all. So I'll make a better effort next week, I think, and play some different stuff.
This will be like your Kingdom when Unknown had Kingdom Hearts 3. This will be the weekly check-in. How's your Assassin's Creed Odyssey going?
The other problem too is I really want to play. I'm playing a little bit of the Xbox at the moment because we had the Lego expansion to Forza came out recently, which is just great. And if you like that sort of childish stuff, and there's also another game called The Outer. Oh no, I've got to be careful here because there's so many Outer games at the moment. The Outer Worlds is the one coming, so The Outer Wilds, I think, which is also phenomenal. But obviously, they're only Xbox games, so we won't go into them. But they are distracting me as well. So yeah. Anyway, but we'll come back in. I need to find something new, obviously. Something that will capture me for this week. So with that in mind, why don't we have a look at what's coming out this week? Now, listeners, I apologize. Sony decided not to put out a drop this week. Maybe they just don't care anymore. There's just so much coming. So we've sort of backgrounded a few, but I'm sure there will be more that we miss. So please bear with us there. And Mindy, I believe you have some magic you want to throw out.
I do. I see what you did there. Yeah, so Penn and Teller are putting out a game for PSVR. Penn and Teller, the magicians. It is called Penn and Teller VR. Frankly, unfair, unkind, unnecessary, and underhanded. And as they say, that means this game abbreviates to Penn and Teller. F-U, U, U, and you.
Really?
So, legendary entertainers Penn and Teller bring their unique brand of magical mayhem to a virtual stage. Penn and Teller VR FUUU and U is a virtual torturous toy box of frankly unfair, unkind, unnecessary, and underhanded magic tricks and simulations that will absolutely baffle and humiliate your friends. So I don't have a PSVR, so I can't play this right now, which makes me sad. But what I really want to know is if you know kind of the history of Penn and Teller in video games, they had a video game that never came out, and it was on the set, but you can find it pretty easily, just from Google. And I think it was the Sega CD. It was an FMV game, and it was just little mini games. One of them was like an arcade brawler, and the most one that came from that is Desert Bus, which is a bus driving simulator, and you have to drive real time, so 6 or 8 hours from I don't remember where to Las Vegas. And you can't just leave it running because if you're not actively on the control, the bus drifts to the left.
God.
So you have to keep it on the road. And if you run off the road, you get towed back to, even if you're 20 minutes outside of Vegas, you're getting towed the hell back to wherever you started in. And that also happens in real time. And so and of course they did it, as a commentary of video games. I guess the political culture of video games at the time, I suppose, because that was around the time when Jack Thompson was out spewing his garbage about video games, and Congress is like, well, are they too violent? Should we restrict them? So yeah, imagine now. And then in the 90s, they're like, it's too violent and realistic, and whatever. But I do want to give a shout out for that. This has nothing to do with Penn Teller VR. But because of Desert Bus, there is a charity. There's some good gaming charities out there. I think Velvet, what's the one you do? You do the big one, right? The Play.
I do Extra Life charity.
Extra Life, that's the one. That's what I mean. There that I think doesn't get as much Exposure is
It's like Play to Heal, I think, or
yeah.
something like that. I know which one you're
No,
talking
but the
about,
one
but
I'm
I can't think of
specifically
the
talking
name.
about is Desert Bus for Charity. Or no, Desert Bus for Hope. And that's what these guys do. They get together for as long as they can. I think last year they did it for like 4 days. Like it's crazy. It's a group of people get together and all they do is just play Desert Bus and they switch on and off. And you can pledge donations and Penn and Teller always like they're aware of this and they always donate stuff every year.
Oh, that's cool though.
So that's pretty cool. So, there are very few kind of video game charities out there and I want to give credit where credit is due there. So, that's the new release for the week.
No, but did you watch any gameplay video of that?
I haven't seen much. I didn't learn about this game until last week, honestly.
Okay. Like, I watched it maybe, like, 10 minutes before this started, and I was cracking up. Like, Mindy, you need to watch it. Like, I know we don't have VRs, but
The Sega CD game was kind of made as a trolling thing, and it kind of makes me think that that's what
it
this one
is.
is too.
It is. So, I watched, like, a minute clip of it, and it has somebody with the VR set who is, who's the silent one? Is that Teller?
Yeah, so Teller's the quiet one.
Okay, so you play as Teller, and you're doing the magic trick where they shoot a bullet into his mouth, and you have to close his teeth and catch the bullet. But the camera of the VR, you are inside Teller's mouth. Like you see his teeth, and you see his tongue, and you have to chomp down your teeth. And if you're like a second ahead or a second behind, you can chip his teeth. And what they don't tell the person holding the VR headset is that on the TV, it tells people watching, go scare them now, go do this to them, go do this to them. So it's such a
Oh, that's
trolling
great.
game. Like, go
It
spit
sounds
on
like
them now.
it's directly in vain with their unpublished video game.
Oh,
What
definitely.
was it? I think it was called Smoke and Mirrors.
Yeah, it's definitely Penn and Teller, but I was cracking up because it was like the VR, the person in charge of the VR is having
Mhm,
such a different experience than everybody around him. Like, it's definitely an audience experience, which is what they're known for. They're pretty
mhm.
known for that, but I was cracking up at it,
Mm,
so
Well, that is definitely one to watch out for.
Yeah, sorry, I just Googled, Smoke and Mirrors. It said, "Yeah, all the mini games with one exception were made for the sole purpose of enabling the player to fool their friends by different means, designating the games, quote, scam mini games and virtual tricks." So it sounds like they're doing the same thing again, but updating and, because video technology's gotten a lot
Yeah.
better since the Sega CD.
Excellent. Good. And now, Velvet, would you like to throw out a game?
okay, so looking at the upcoming, the list that you have, I had a comment about, is it Redeemer or Redeemer? Like, I didn't
I don't know. Redeemer
confirm.
sounds good. We'll go with that, and then everyone can correct us in the chat. Thank you.
I just want to make sure. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up really quick just to make sure.
Yeah.
It's Redeemer. Okay, Redeemer. All right.
Yeah.
So this one, I'm not like so much curious about it. I'm more surprised about the gameplay because when you're looking at it, you're gonna think it's a first-person adventure game, kind of like God of War in a sense. But then the trailer, it had a side-scrolling section, but most of the game is top-down adventure, which really threw
Mm.
me off. Just like, okay, is this meant to be like this? But obviously, it's meant to be like that. Yeah, it looks interesting, but sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, listeners, just do a bit of research before you buy this game. If you know the history of the game, this game was released on PC and it was a massive flop. It was
Oh
underdeveloped,
no.
underdone, and now this enhanced edition is supposed to be a massive improvement. They brought this out, so actually, this is a free. Well, it won't be free for consoles because the original didn't come on console, but it is a free update. This enhanced edition to anyone that bought it on Steam on the PC, so it will be interesting to see it. It does apparently add a lot more to the game, but it might be one to check out before you purchase if that's something that does interest you. That game there. Not to put a deadener on the game, it could still be great, but the original wasn't. But this yeah. But, and look, I only mention that because I don't think it's going to be a cheap release either, so it might be something to look into.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
I thought it would be about a $29.99 release, like just
yeah.
based on it.
Let's hope, but I have a
Well, I
feeling
thought that was kind of high, but I don't know. I don't know.
And Dragon Quest builders. Would you like to?
Dragon Quest, yeah. So I played the first one. I barely played the first one, I should say. My brother and I bought this because we thought we could play together, and then it ended up being that there was no online multiplayer, which was kind of a bummer. So I'm really hoping this one adds that feature into it. But it's pretty cool. It's like an RPG with Minecraft elements. Like you're building up these forts, you're building up these just like houses and stuff, just little structures that you can save in and live in and build in, and then you go off onto these adventures and do all these quests and all this other stuff. So it's basically Minecraft with better graphics and with actual story play to it.
How did you find in the first one? I played a fair bit of the first one. I quite enjoyed it too, but I didn't like the time limit you had on each of the sort of overarching missions.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough because I'm the kind of player that likes to take my time when I get to a new area and like really explore around, figure out all the quests and all like do everything I can. And the fact that they put a time limit on it was just like,
yeah,
I can't do everything, and that like I can't do it on my own time. I'm doing it like I feel like I'm rushing through everything. So I'm kind of hoping they alleviated that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if they did put a time limit, they extend it so that you can just casually enjoy the game without worrying about.
I totally agree with you. I think I'll look into that, but I didn't do that, unfortunately, listeners. But I think it would be a great game without a time limit. I don't think it adds anything to it, at all. But maybe this second one does.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's a great
We shall
game.
see, yeah. And look, listeners, I have to throw this one out because I've been sitting on the fence about buying this series for ages, and someone on my games list bought one of the versions of it the other day, and which surprised me because it's a way overpriced Japanese. Well, I think actually it's a Korean game, this Smilegate Entertainment, and it's obviously the Summer Lessons. I don't know if either of you two are familiar with this. They're VR dating games in effect, but I don't know. They're very, very cheesy. Like I suppose I need to be careful here with two females on the podcast. I probably should have thought about it before I said it, but we're not talking like the Dead or Alive flopping around your bikini type game. This is a very high class dating sim. The girls are all dressed, and you take them out to lunch or whatever, and you help them study and stuff like this. So it looks fantastic. The problem is each game is like ridiculously overpriced, and then the DLCs are sold individually as well. But they've brought out the next girl, if you like, and they're selling it this time as a separate standalone. Focus on you. So listeners, if you're not familiar, you'll get the idea here. It says here, get to know a cheerful yet modest, shy but charming junior in a high school of the arts. So there's a high chance she would get in a lot of trouble, maybe jail, if you did this in real life. But anyway,
high school is a little bit of a
they love them young. Recall the memories of your beautiful first love through a realistic experience with a sense of intimacy that was previously unattainable in dating genre games. So look, it comes in at 60 Australian, so it's a little bit cheaper than the releases on the Asian store, including this one on the Asian store as well. So I don't know. If someone picks it up, just send me some images because I want to play it, but I don't. So I really don't know, but it looks. These games should have no appeal for me. I don't know what the attraction is, but I do like. Look at the white dresses; it's so pure. Maybe that's what I'm chasing. Who knows? But anyway, that is something different for your VR. Very different to the Penn and Teller, I suppose, if that interests you.
Very, very different.
I think we just learned something really interesting about
Mindy's gone totally silent. She's probably like, look at this chauvinistic male pig with his dead or alive beach volleyball games, and he's not even attracted to them. What's going on? But anyway, so it doesn't matter. They intrigue me. Anyway, so look, let's not open the door for Mindy to make a comment there. Let's just push straight in to the topic for this week. And I can't think of a better person to discuss this with, Velvet, than yourself, because you play a stack of indie games.
Oh.
So what I sort of did, listeners, was I put them just sort of in chronological chronological order, just from sort of the end of last year to up until now. Now, we've had some amazing indie games. I don't know if your listeners partake in them or if you're more of a AAA person, but there has been some wonderful stuff. There's also been some shocking stuff, of course. But we thought, we would go through a few of them, spend some time on some maybe and quicker on others. But shall we? I'll throw them out, and then if either of you two, want to make some comments on them or whatever, please do. So we'll start with Peter Pot. So this came from September last year from Treefall Studios.
Yeah, so this one is one of mine. I love this game. So I'm pretty big on platformers, and I even told Mindy that this is a heavy platformer. Not in the sense that it has a lot of platforming, that's all you're going to be doing, but the controls themselves are really heavy. But it was an absolute doll of a game. You just play as a little pot. You go around collecting seeds.
Who doesn't like to play with a little pot? Carry on, please.
What was I talking about a week or so ago? And I talked about it was a platform with really heavy controls.
Was it on here?
What was that?
Oh, that was the candle game. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Really? That one's a platformer? I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, Candle the Power, not Candle Man.
No, I know.
Candle Power of the Flame.
Yeah.
It's like a adventure game, like a puzzle platformer.
Yeah, no, this one's not a puzzle. This one is just like straight platform collect.
Straight platforming?
Yeah, straight platform and collect things. But it's the first PS4 game released by Treefall Studios, and it was actually a port that they did to PS4. Again, I thought it was absolutely adorable for what it was. It's a little heavy on the controls, and I can see that turning people off a lot. But I was kind of mad because the reviews that I saw for it, everybody played up until the first boss, and that was like, these are the reviews. And I was like, but you barely got into the game. Like, it gets so much better after the first boss.
This is a plat game as well. How would you sort of rate it? Like easy, medium, hard? Is it?
These are the kind of funky ones that it's not a certain number. So
No.
I personally would give this about a 3.5 out of 10. But if you really struggle with platforming games and like kind of heavy tank control kind of controls, I can see this being about a 5 for people, but it's not overly difficult. It's just heavy. But once you get the hang of it, you can really do due diligence on it. So I liked it.
I was just going to say one thing before you do. So I didn't tell Velvet or Mindy this, because it's more fun this way. But we have a list of about 24 or 25 games here, listeners. We're going to try and knock it. Obviously, you should never rank art in any form, but why not? Why not give it a go anyway? And we're going to try and cut the list down a little bit to maybe the top 2 or 3 at the end that you would recommend. Obviously, all these games are definitely highly recommendable, but 2 or 3. So we'll go through them all. But then if there's 1 or 2 that are standout ones, that our listeners might get to, you can recommend those at the end. But yes, Mindy, your game. Sorry.
Oh no, if we're gonna cover all these games, then I gotta wait because mine's a little further down the list.
Yeah, we'll go through them all very quickly, I imagine. Yeah. So Bombfest, we're up to White Thorn. Is this correct? Right, White Thorn Digital.
Yes, White Thorn, not White Horn. White Thorn.
Yeah, my mistake.
No, it's okay. It's a common mistake. I've noticed it's across multiple sites that is happening. But I wanted to give this one a massive shout because A, it's an incredibly fun party game, and B, it's all made by one person. Zach is the sole programmer, coder of everything that happens in this game, and he is very, very receptive to feedback for the game itself. And right now on PS4, it doesn't have multiplayer, but he is working on creating an online multiplayer aspect to it.
Just while Velvet's taking a break for a moment, listeners, if you're interested in hearing an interview with Zach, I know he was a guest on the Trophy Horse podcast about a month or 2 ago. I don't have the episode number, apologies. You can go back through, and he's a very interesting guest. He's probably the closest I've heard a developer come to sort of explaining how patches work on PSN, how that process all works, how the trophy list works when you're submitting it to PSN. He doesn't quite admit, as you'll know, listeners, nobody ever does, how they get platinums and how they don't. But he sounds very close to the line on that, and also talking about how to patch games and the costs involved in patching and things like this. So, yeah, very interesting.
Maybe he'd be an interesting guy to get on, because I don't know though, because I see further down this list he's also responsible for Where the Bees Make Honey, and I was not.
Nope. No, he's not.
I
No,
didn't
he's not.
slag off the game, but I did say it was not one of my favorites, and I had some things to say about its narrative.
No, Zach didn't do. Yeah, Zach didn't do Where the Bees Make Honey. He only did Bonfire.
Oh, this is just the publisher.
Yeah, Whitethorn is the publisher. Zach is the developer for it. But to
Got
play on what CJ said, I picked up this game when it was on sale. And like I messaged him and I was like, hey, look, I'm interested in writing this guide. I just want to know if like I have any questions, like can I hit you up or whatever. And he was incredibly responsive, super sweet, just super nice. And when it came out that there were bugs, he was really quick about fixing them. When it came to like the nitty gritty, he was like, no, let's get this done. And there was a point when he was like, this game is for gamers, but I also want it to be for trophy hunters. So he wanted to make sure that the trophies worked for
Yes.
SNR addictions.
And as it stands now, it does work? Is that correct? I know there's been
It
patches.
is, yes.
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
100% fixed. He has done a phenomenal job on it. He's one of the developers that I'm like, be like him. If there's anybody that you're just, what should I do? Just like be responsive and be like Zach. But the game itself is incredibly fun, especially if you have friends to play with. It's a super quick, super fast paced, sorry, I just snapped, party game that you will get loads of laughs from, undoubtedly. So it's on sale right now, 50% off in the NA store. So if you haven't picked it up, that was a pretty good chance to do so. But again, he is working on getting the online multiplayer stuff added in. So hopefully soon. Yeah.
Yeah. And that game is a plat as well.
It is. Yes, it is a plat.
Yeah, and quite a reasonably easy one, I think, overall. So the next one, I don't know if either of you have played this Glass Masquerade. Has this come across either of your radars?
I haven't played it, and I'm actually surprised that I haven't played it, because it's a very jigsaw-y kind of puzzle game, and I'm just like, wait, what? Like, how have I not played this?
Yeah, it's a beautiful little game. You're right. It's a jigsaw puzzle game. It's fairly easy in that the puzzle pieces snap in when you do put them in the right places. But it's basically a tour of Europe of the different churches and their stained glass windows put into the puzzle. They're all clocks, but there is no time limit in this game. You can take as long as you want. So it's quite relaxing. And it's a quite reasonably priced plat. And I think there's no need for a guide for this one. It's you just, I suppose maybe if you wanted to see the picture first, you could. And it's probably like 4 or 5 hours, I'd say, to do. So it's I would recommend that one. It's a lovely little game. But let's move on then, because
is it a platinum?
It is a platinum as well. Platinum? Yes, yeah, a platinum. Yeah, so it's got this funny thing. It rates the puzzles like, I think from memory it was like 1, 2, or 3 stars, and you sort of you have to do them all or whatever. But some of the 1-star puzzles are actually harder than the 3 stars. So don't be put off by that. So when you sort of start, you're like, oh, this is going to take quite a while because this puzzle has a lot of pieces. But some of the latter puzzles actually have a lot less pieces. So yeah. I don't know, the rating doesn't really matter, but yeah, it's sort of 4 to 5 hours, nice and relaxed, I would say, for that one. So the next one, I think we've all played this one, the Meow Motors.
Meow Motors, yes.
Yeah, I have not played this game.
What?
Oh, you hadn't? I thought you played this.
Nope.
So what did you think, Velvet? Did you enjoy this cat racer?
I did. It was fun. Yeah, so I love little, not racing games, but kart racers specifically, like Mario Kart, all the versions of Mario Kart, I should say. So
did you play that, what's called Bears Can't Drift, Bears Don't Drift?
I have it. I have not played it yet. Yeah, Bears, I think it's Bears Don't Drift.
Yeah, that's a fun game too.
Bears Can't Drift. One of them.
Yeah.
Oh, you have played it. Oh,
don't be surprised by that. It doesn't mean I finished it, but I played it.
I love the silly, don't take themselves seriously kind of racing game. So when I saw the trailer for this, I was like, oh, it's a kart racer. And I was like, Oh, you're a kitty cat, so.
What's the one with the old people?
Oh, Coffin Dodgers.
The old-
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Another good one. Yeah. That is funny, that one. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're all in the same vein. This one has a little story to it as well as you go, so it's kind of cute in there as well. And
Yeah, you're just trying to redeem your father's
Yeah.
legacy by winning the championship in the Meow Motors world. No, I really enjoyed it. The controls are pretty easy. The computer players aren't too difficult to race against. I know sometimes in the Mario Kart games, the difficulty would spike tremendously, and you're just like, what am I doing? I have no business being on here. But no, this was fun. This was fun and easygoing. It had a little bit of a trouble getting released in Europe at start. Just there was some funky behind the scenes stuff that I can't really go into. It's all good now. It's all good. So
Oh, good.
everybody can
Yeah.
play it. So
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's only a single stack game, listeners.
It
so
is,
It
yeah.
doesn't matter which version you get. Yeah, it is a plat though, and fairly easy as well. If you haven't jumped on it, another fun light one. Now, well, the next one I think is
Blast from the Past coming up.
I think it is, but it's a fantastic game. The Liar and the Blind Prince. So
The Liar Princess and the Blind Prince.
Oh, is it? I left out Princess. Sorry, you're right. Liar Princess. And
Yes,
the Blind.
you did
Sorry,
leave out Princess.
sorry. So obviously,
So
please, Minnie.
listeners may remember this was like a game we talked about weekly for the first probably 2 months of the podcast. Yeah, I still stand by the fact that it's a very charming game that everyone should play.
Yes. Yeah. Have you played this, Velvet?
I have not. I've been meaning to. I have it, but I haven't played it yet.
It's a lovely, lovely little game, isn't it? All hand-drawn as well, I believe. So, yeah, it's fantastic. And look, I mean, as we've discussed numerous times, listeners, there are multiple stacks of that game as well. There's even a Vita stack. But I think we're just very lucky that they did port it across to the West and localize it. Otherwise, we would have... Because it's a charming story. I'm sure you'd agree too, Minty. It would have been a shame not to get the story just in the Japanese.
Yeah, it's sweet. It's like a little fairy tale, but more kind of like the Hans Christian Andersen type of darker German as opposed to, bubbly Disney.
Yeah, and quite an easy plat as well, listeners. There's a couple of, I think, a slightly random trophy, isn't there, with the time trial one, just getting that to work or whatever, but not difficult, I think, over the course. Now the next one.
Yeah, no, it's fairly easy.
Yeah. Now the next one I know nothing about. So this is Velvet's going to enlighten us. And I almost picked this up till I saw the price, and I thought, no, I'll let Velvet tell us about this one instead.
Oh yeah, it's a little.
Yeah,
pricey.
but I'm sure it's worth it. Tell us about degrees of separation.
Okay, so Mindy, have you played this? I don't know if you have.
I have not.
Okay. I didn't know if this was one. Okay, so it doesn't have a platinum, which I know turns a lot of people off. It is just a PSN game. But I love the art style to begin with, and then the concept of the game. So you are controlling 2 characters if you're playing solo. If you're playing co-op, player 1 controls one, obviously player 2 controls the other, but it's hot versus cold, and you have to use the elements against each other to complete these puzzles to collect these banners throughout the story to make it to the end. And it's such a different, I don't even know how to describe it. I love when people go out of the ordinary with these kind of puzzle concepts. Just it's not just black versus white. It's no, if you're blowing cold air on fire, the cold air is going to stop that fire. So you really have to use the elements against each other to move forward. And it was really, really well done. They did a really good job with it.
Does this play at all with the two players, so you can control them with one person as well? Is it sort of like the brothers thing, or where you're...
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were playing with 2 players, one person would control ice, one would control the fire, and then you would just play with each other. And if you're playing solo, the left joystick would do cold and the right joystick would do hot.
Okay.
So
yeah, excellent.
You would play like that.
Okay, so. By Moondrop there, and that's a 200% stacks of that one on the NA and the EU. So then, now we must talk about this one because I believe you're the guide writer for this. Is this correct? I am correct. Right? Yeah.
Yes, all of it. 100%.
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yes, Farm Together, the Milkstone Studios. Now, I have a question for you here. Am I pretty much screwed because I didn't get the plat before they added all the extra things?
Oh, That's the funky. Okay, so I was really surprised that they did this, and I actually messaged them, and I haven't heard back. So I think the answer to that question might be yes.
I think so.
So Farm Together is incredibly relaxing. It's incredibly stress-free. It plays in real time, and you just farm. You plant your plants, you plant your crops, flowers, animals, and if it takes 2 hours in game, it takes 2 hours in real life. You can't change or manipulate the system clock to move it forward at all. You're stuck with what you have. Like, there is no going about it. So they did recently release the Big Farms DLC, which I was stoked about because it was like, okay, new content. Yes, let's get this. And then I realized that if oh my gosh, in the base game, there are two trophies that will take you the longest, and that is to start up your game after a month after creating it, which is obviously a month in real time. And then the second one was to open up all the farm expansions, and there's 24 farm expansions. So with the DLC, they expanded that to 50. So if you didn't get all of the farm expansions in the base game and you started up the game after the DLC was released, you now have to get all 50, which extends the platinum time. I would honestly say more than double than what it would have
Ooh,
been.
they do that in the Lego games too. When they add all the DLC, that adds to the total of like level, like things you need 100%. Oh, that's not fun.
Yeah. Like, I stand by, and I don't know if like any developers are going to be listening to this, but if you add DLC, please make sure to keep it separate from the base game
Yes.
requirements, because it's such a turnoff. Like, I felt so horrible editing that guide and just being like, look, if you didn't get this trophy before, you're not going to like this. Like, and it's digital only, so there's no way to not download the DLC. But that aside, I still love the game. Like,
I have a question. How is this different from like the farming simulator series of games, the one that, has a yearly installment? Is it more of the same? Is there a sense of humor to it? How is it?
it's okay, so the farming simulator games, which I have played, are more realistic in a sense, where the fields that you plow, they're set fields that you plow. Like, this is it. You can't go past this, and it's a limited number. You can only work on certain amount of squares at a time, all that stuff. Like, it's more realistic, whereas Farm Together is more like a Farmville sense, where it's cartoony graphics. If there's a
I see.
Yeah, like if there's a blank square to your left, you can plant a flower there. Like, there's no limitation to where you can plant anything. And there's a massive amount of crops that you can plant in Farm Together versus the farming simulator games. So they do vary in that sense. In my opinion, the Farm Together game is more gamer friendly.
Well, it sounds like it's the difference between like a Forza and a kart racer. Do you want realism or do you want?
Kind of, yeah. Like, they're both grindy, but it's more like, do you want to grind just like the general, here I am plowing 50,000 kilometers, or do you want grindy as in, I'm going to plant like the best and greatest thing to make the most money to expand my farm? Like, they're very different in that aspect. I don't know, I kind of lean towards Farm Together between the two.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's much more approachable and enjoyable, in that.
Oh, there you go.
that
That's a
vein.
good word. Yeah, that's a really good word.
And I mean, just to throw out there as well, one of the cute little additions in this game is that you can visit other people's farms online. I think there's some trophies for that, and they can also visit yours when you're not there and help you out. So it's a nice little feature.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one. And look, listeners, even though it is an incredibly long plat, made even longer now, it is great to run on a second system, because it's a game, you can drop in and out of. I mean, it will probably take you 10 years, like me. You can drop in
Yeah.
and out. That's fantastic.
But at the same time, if you idle it and people come to your farm, whatever work they do counts towards your trophies.
That's right.
So, yeah, if you're at work, you can like idle your system and just have people come and go and work on your stuff for you and call it a day.
So the next game was a 5-minute special for me, definitely, in and out. So that's all I remember of this merge game. The Walking Vegetables Radical Edition. But sell me on it. What did you think?
Okay. Mindy, did you play this? I don't think you did. This isn't your kind of game.
I have not played it. No.
Okay.
The next contribution I have is a few games from now, I think.
All right. I loved this game. Okay. So it is a top-down run and gun shooter.
I think I edited this trophy guide though.
You did. You did this one. You definitely did this one. So I fell in love with it when somebody sent me the trailer for it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then True Trophies posted their trailer for it, and I was like, oh my God, I need this game. Like, everybody stop. I need this game. So you play as this hero, and you are fighting zombie vegetables who are trying to kill you, and you just have to go around killing them. Did you ever play Age of Zombies on the Vita?
No.
At all? No? Nobody? Okay. Shoot, I don't know what other game I played that's like similar to it.
You can still say it's similar. Some of our listeners might have. It's just that we have not.
Is this a roguelike or not?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Each time you start the game, the levels will be different for it, which kind of throws in a little bit of a fun factor to it. But it's not easy. There is no platinum. It's 100%. And if CJ saw, he can see that nobody has 100% trophies in it.
Oh, okay.
Because it is incredibly difficult to get. But the fun factor of the game sells it for me. Like, trophies aside, this game was hella fun to play.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the Life is Strange reference there. So I will go back to it. I love that series. Anyway, so the next one. Now, I'm the only one that probably knows about the next one, which is a travesty, unfortunately. The Unknown Fate by Master Games SRL. Now, unfortunately, this game came out over 6 months ago, but the list, we were talking about this earlier, the list has not synced yet for this game, and I have a feeling...
Still no?
Yeah, I have a feeling it never will. I contacted the developers a month or two ago, and they were well aware of the problem, but I don't know what happened, and they couldn't. Italian developers, they couldn't sort it. So it's in a way it's a walking sim. It's with puzzles, if you like. It's very abstract. It's probably one of the most abstract games I've played. It's a lot of black and white in coloring, but there is some vivid reds and things thrown out, and it's a story told. I mean, it has a little bit of narrative in it, but mainly told through visuals and flashbacks, and it's really good. I'm hesitant to recommend it, obviously, because it'll be a game that you may get stuck on your list permanently, trying to sync every time you turn on your system and never being able to. But I know it is available on other platforms as well, like the Switch and PC. So it could be something that if you want to break from trophies, something to check out. But it is definitely worth your time, and it's about 3 to 4 hours. And there is a walkthrough if you got stuck on any of the puzzles, but they're not difficult, in any way. So look, from a game I would class as quite high quality to Where the Bees Make Honey. Where does this sit?
Mindy.
Like I said, we have talked about this a little bit before. It's not bad. I just, when we talked about the episode where we talked about Edith Finch and walking sims, this is the kind of abstract I don't like, where it's clear there's a story being told and the story is known to the developer. Like, it's very obvious there's a very specific story being told, but unless you're in the head of the developer, you're gonna I think walk away kind of unsatisfied with it.
So is this like modern art, in that someone said it's art, therefore it's art? Like, this guy or whoever's made it has said this is a game, so therefore it's a game? Or is there some depth to it?
Well, I was kind of talking to the developer of this, and I told him that this is what it looked like. I see this as a portfolio game, not so much as a game, but he
Ah.
showcased all the methods that he knows how to do. First person, top down,
Yeah, I can see
side
that.
scroller.
I can see that.
Yeah, like he showcased everything that he knows how to do in one game, and he built a story around all of that stuff. With that, the story is a little lost. Like, admittedly, it is definitely not easy to follow, but that to me it just explains the variety of the gameplay with it. Like, you knew how to do all these things, so you did
Mm,
all these things.
mm. Okay, well, no, that's a better explanation.
Well, and it ties a bit to, I think back then I said some walking sims were little more than tech demos.
Yeah,
So this kind of falls somewhere in between,
yeah,
doesn't it?
definitely. I would say so. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's an easy plat. Let's move on. Mindy,
Yes, sir.
Windstorm.
German horses. Yeah.
Did you just do a salute then? I just felt
I
that
did
come
not
through.
do a salute,
Maybe
thank you
that's
very
just
much.
No, good, good. Let's be careful. We're treading very close to the line
I did
here, I
not do a
realize.
salute.
So, German horse sim. You know, what do you think?
It's a horse it's not really a simulator per se.
No,
The
no.
first because this is a sequel, so Windstorm Ari's Arrival is the game he's talking about. The first one had more simulation aspects in it, whereas wherein you had to like groom your horse and take care of it, but there was a story, which you did not have to play for the platinum at all, actually. Whereas this one, Ari's Arrival, you do have to play the whole story, and there's no simulation in it. You don't clean the horse, you don't take care of its hooves or its stall or anything like that. You just play through the story. So I think you do it a bit of a disservice, not a disservice, but I think you are miscategorizing it to call it a sim.
No, look, I'm actually, to be honest, the listeners, I'm quite looking forward to playing this. So I'm not derogatory on the game. Do you think it's an improvement on the first game, or is it much the same? Like, have they developed from the first? Or there was nothing wrong with the first game either, by the way.
There was nothing wrong with the first game. This one feels, yeah, I don't know. I felt like I was fighting the camera
Okay.
a bit with this one when I was kind of free roaming on the horse. But that could very well be because you just spend more time in this game. The first game, all you have to do for the platinum is get all, I think, 80 statues that are dotted around the world, and once you've done that, you've unlocked all the other trophies that have nothing to do with the statues. But you definitely spend more time with this one because you actually have to play through the story. So either is fine. It's as close to Black Beauty as I think we're ever gonna get for not Black Beauty, the Black Stallion, as
Yeah.
we're ever gonna get on console, and there's platinum, so you might as well.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
right.
awful. It's some claim that your
Yeah.
daughter played it and move on.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad. So look, now the next one. Let's go back to the abstract, because this really is Far Lone Sales. What did you think?
Okay, so I actually really enjoyed this one. It was not what I was expecting it to be. So, looking at the trailer and looking at the screenshots and everything, I thought it was going to be more of a Fallout Shelter situation where everybody's in like a separate room and you're controlling multiple people. But it ended up being that you are one solo person in this massive automotive, or octomotive, as they call it, and you are just traversing through empty oceans, across deserts to the very end. And it's very, you have to be quick on your feet through the entire time, which I enjoyed. The game itself is only, I would say, like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops if you're taking your time with it, but you have to be constantly paying attention to every little detail, and I really enjoy games like that. Like, don't look away, you're gonna miss something. The
Yeah.
wind's gonna change. So I
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's an intriguing idea. I agree, and 100% game with 2 stacks there, the NA and EU
Yeah.
listeners. So
Yeah, and it's
next one, Yeah, next one we'll just start super quickly. Just Shapes and Beats. So this is a game that came out on the Switch months ago. It recently came to PS4. It's a fantastic music bullet hell. If you're wondering what that is, then check out a video because that's exactly what it is. You can play single or co-op, both local and online as well. The plat itself is fairly easy for a rhythm game with a little bit of a grind towards the end. So I would highly recommend that game if you're on the fence or if you didn't know about it, check it out. Then Figment. I don't know if we want to discuss this or not, other than to say it was a beautiful game, music, action, adventure. Did someone here write the guide for this, or am I misguided?
Yeah, that's me.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
So what did you think? Is that the correct term? Musical action adventure? I don't even know what you classify this as.
I would put it as a platformer adventure, but there are musical aspects to it. But out of all the games I've played this year, this is my game of the year. Like, hands down, without any question. And I keep like nagging people to play it.
So sell it for us. Why should we play it?
Okay, so you are playing a figment of your imagination, literally. Like, the entire game takes place inside of your mind, and all the levels are different parts of the brain that you have to travel to and defeat like nightmares in. And it's so beautifully done. The music is absolutely fantastic in this game, and I really am not doing it any justice right now. Like, it is such a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Very well put together.
It is.
Like, I don't know if you guys played Back to Bed.
Yes.
You did. Okay.
Did
you enjoy that one?
I did enjoy it. And you can see that the similarities and also how they've progressed, I think, in this
the
game.
art style. Yeah. It's very similar. But they really went all in with this one, and it paid off incredibly well. Again, just my favorite game. Like, you see people who try to do abstract, and it's like, okay, you're doing abstract just to do abstract. And then you get people like this where it's like, no, we have this new concept, and you just understand it and you get it, and it's like, this is amazing.
It is, and the controls are very good as well. It's not floaty, it's not heavy.
It's very clean, it's very well put together. You don't have any hitbox issues, you don't have any why did this happen issues. Like, there's no glitches or anything, which I really enjoy. It's very well done. But again, the story of it, it's very funny, it's very sarcastic. The dialogue is a hoot. I laughed multiple times throughout the entire time of it. But it's a
beautiful game.
Yeah, it's a beautiful game. Yes, it is a beautiful game.
Yeah. I have a feeling that will be on the top of both of our lists so far this year. And then, of course, is it is a plat. It's 2 stacks in a EU share list, and then the Asian stack available on the Hong Kong or Japanese store, I believe, for that one. Yeah, perfect. And there is a guide for it, as you've said. So if you need it, it's there. So the next one we'll just touch on briefly, Sun, S.O.N. And only because I didn't know that it stood for South of Nowhere until I did some research, which is the forest in Pennsylvania. So I don't know, do you have any opinions on this game? Or it is 100% game, listeners, 2 stacks, NA.
This is one of the ones you did a full video walkthrough for, isn't it?
Yeah, this was the first game I did a commentary video on.
That's what it was.
Oh.
Yeah, this was my first one.
How did it feel?
For those, oh god, nerve-wracking. I hate that. I was so just out of my element with them. But for those who are looking for this game, it's really hard to find because you can't search the game with the periods in the PlayStation Store, on the trophy websites. Like, it's very hard to find in that sense, which is such a bummer. But the game itself is only 20-30 minutes long. It's super, super short. 4 trophies, all basically story related.
Is it scary? It's a psychological horror game, right?
I'm a little bit of a chicken crapper when it comes to games like this. So yeah, there were times it's not scary in the sense of jump scare. It's more chilling. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like there were times when like just chills sent down my spine, just like, oh,
That's what I tend to call atmospheric horror.
okay, all right. I don't know if there was a term for it. But yeah, so it's not a horror game in the sense that it scares you. Just yeah, that makes sense. The atmosphere of it is what really,
It unnerves you.
yeah.
Hmm.
But it was pretty good. It was pretty good. And they got really good feedback on this game. So their next one, they're just like, no, we're going to make this a full length game. We're going to just
Oh, good.
scare
Yeah.
the hell out of you. And
That is good. Ah, okay, well,
yeah.
there's something to try out. A bite-sized experience, listeners, in that one
Yeah,
there.
it's basically demo for what's coming. So
Yeah, well, that is cool to know that, yeah. And then the Saviors gang. I believe you're the person to speak to
the
on this game.
saviors. Oh man. Okay, first of all, hats. Oh, sorry, I just hit my mic. Okay, I'll do it again. All right. Hats off to Katniss Studio because they have been incredibly responsive and helpful with getting this game fixed because it was broken to begin with. And there's been 5 patches that have come out since release, and it is now fully fixed. You can get your platinum, everything's good to go. But this is satirical Jesus game 101. You play as definitely not Jesus. And you have to lead worshipers to safety through all these hazards, falling trees, lava, poisonous gas, like all sorts of stuff. And in the meantime, on the left side of the screen are chat conversations between you, your father, your stepfather, your mother, and definitely not the devil. Satan is Stan.
So, like, definitely not the devil. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But Stan is Vladimir Putin.
Ah,
So, like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's full of memes. It's very, again, very satirical, but I had a really, really good laugh while playing it. So if you're okay with not taking games seriously and you're just down for a good giggle here and there, I definitely recommend picking this.
Yeah, perfect. And that plat is attainable now as well, isn't it?
It
As
is,
you're
yes,
saying.
it is
Yeah,
100%
perfect.
obtainable. So
Yeah, perfect. So, listeners, I'm just going to run the next 3 in together because they come very close to the spam category, so we don't really need to discuss them. But Refunct, a first-person platformer, which is a rehash of a game from the PC released across to console, which I thought was great. It's only like an hour maybe or something. It has a beautiful little message at the end. River Bond by Coco Cucumber, which again the list didn't sync straight away, so it may have costed a little bit, but it does sync now. It's a plat. I've talked about it before. I think it's a fantastic, single all couch co-op, top-down hack and slash.
you actually got this platinum, right?
Yeah, look, I did, and I've actually been in touch with.
Didn't we talk about this on the podcast a couple
We
weeks
did,
ago?
yeah. So I don't want to get sidetracked into it, other than to say that I very rarely reach out to the developers because I have very not much interesting to say anyway, as the listener knows. So I don't want to waste their time. But this was one of the cases where I did because it is a really cute little game, and I hadn't come across them before. So more power to them in the future with what they do. Project Lux, which sorry.
This is the one I said was like 3D Dot Game Heroes with co-op.
Yes, yeah, it's great,
River
but
Bond.
much easier. Yeah, not difficult.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
I want to play this.
Yeah, it's lovely. I love the little stories as well. Project Lux, which is an interesting PSVR move. It's basically more an experience than a game. It's basically an anime movie with like very light choices and picking things up and stuff like that. But it's an interesting.
I saw that one as a VN in VR.
Yes, without a skip button. So you do have to play it twice with that game. But it's an interesting concept. And, like anything these things, most of the time they don't get trophies, a lot of these experiences. There's quite a few of them now on the store, Everest and the Titanic and a few other ones that are really interesting. So it is nice that I suppose they put some trophies into it. And then we move down to Wizard's Tourney. Now, listeners, you'll remember that I talked about this last week. I didn't know a lot about it, but that's in my defense. I'd played 5 minutes of it, and now we know a lot more about it, including how to get the platinum from the guide writer. So perhaps you can correct me.
Yeah. So, little correction from last week. This is a multiplayer game that you can play with up to 4 people, but you don't need 4 controllers or 4 accounts. You only need 2 maximum. And I told the developer that I was talking to that this was a trophy godsend. That's what they did. You only need a joystick and one button through all the mini games. So what they did was a shared controller. So controller 1 can control player 1 and 2 with the left and the right. And then the second controller is the second account, which controls player 3 and 4, which makes that super, 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 super easy. And all the trophies unlock for all active accounts. So you don't have to replay anything if you're boosting. Everybody will get it as they are supposed to. But yeah, it's a pretty fun little party game. Definitely enjoyed it. It's a little grindy to get to the 50 plays of each mini game themselves, but you can idle it, as I was telling CJ the other day. All you have to do is hit L1 to start the next match, and then just let the computer players fight amongst themselves.
Yeah, that's true. And as you said, it would be a lot quicker to do it, because they are a bit slow, the AI sometimes.
So the AI is a little...
That's how you got through Mortal Kombat, right, CJ? You just let the characters fight themselves.
That's how I get through most of my games, Mindy. Well, the real trick with this game is if you own a turbo controller, you're pretty much set on the idle method.
Yeah.
And then if you really delve into the dark arts of the Chronos Max, you don't even have to be there at all, because the script will restart it for you. So, look, if you're in possession of those evil devices from the dark web, then this could be the platinum for you.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But no, it is fun. Aside from that, yeah, good. And then we should discuss this, because I think this is quite a good game. This Ovivo, is that correct?
I don't know how exactly it's pronounced. I've been saying Ovivo, but I've heard people say Ovivo and Ovivo, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go with Ovivo.
So it's one of those.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Did you finished this, haven't you?
Yes.
Did you guide?
Yep.
You did? Okay, good. It's a safe bet, isn't it? One of you two probably
did.
So.
I was like, between Mindy and I, all the games on this list.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
Except not really. I mean, what have I talked about? I've talked about Bees Make Honey and Windstorm and...
Yeah, but you're making Stranger Things
and the
guide, so that's
good. Yeah.
That's true.
DLC guide.
We just lost you to Assassin's Creed for a week there. See, that's why you slowed down, but we'll get you back.
You really did. But this is the one that you and Chris and I talked about last week, right? And I thought maybe it sounded like it played like Shift.
Oh, kind of, yeah. So Unknown just did a review on this one. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh, no.
This game, it plays on the colors. So it's just black and white. And when you're black, you can roll on top of a black platform. When you're white, you can roll on the underneath of it. So you have to keep switching between the two to make your way through each level and collect all the dots and story symbols along the way. And
I was right. It does play like Shift. That makes me happy.
Yeah. So it's pretty similar. It's not the exact same concept, but it is pretty darn similar to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot better than what I was expecting it to be. So hats off to Sometimes You. And also, just as full disclosure, I did get this early so that I could test it and get the videos up for it. But I did tell them that I was expecting this to be like a basic, easygoing, like, oh, this is just a simple platformer. And it is easy, but it's so relaxing. And it's easy on the eyes, easy on the brain, easy on the controls, but it's so rewarding at the same time. Not in the difficulty aspect, but just the you completed this picture aspect to it. So I liked it.
That's good, because some platformers can stress you out.
Oh, this doesn't. This does not. Yeah, like
it's good to hear there's a platformer that's actually good that doesn't stress, because a lot of good ones are really stressful, because you're like, oh, I gotta make these very precision jumps. It's nice to hear that there's a good one that's easy.
Yeah, so
but is also good.
If you mess up, like in other platformers where it's like, I gotta run and jump and hit this jump at the perfect time. In this one, if you have to go back at all, you're going back like
it's a very good checkpoint system. Yeah.
and trying again. So you're not like going far back to try to fix your mistakes. Like you're just dropping down a hill so you can shoot right back up and make a jump. Like
Yeah.
that's basically the most difficult part of it. It's a lot better. It's very artsy, but it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So,
and that is a double stack, NA and EU listeners there, if you want to do that. So, look, I mean, that is a stack of games there. Most of those, well, all of them are fantastic in their own unique ways. But if you had to pick 2 or 3, Velvet, what are your standouts from that list?
oh, okay. So Figment is
I will say some of the games on this list we kind of skipped over because we talked about them earlier. So like Padre is on there and
Yeah.
Scalamania is on there. So you can vote for those as well.
Okay. So Tip Top is definitely Figment, 100%. That was just so much better than I could have ever hoped it would be. And people who haven't played it are honestly missing out. And then second, the Padre was pretty good. Like, I'll stick the Padre as number 2.
That's solid.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, but you said they know that there's a problem with the platinum popping and they're gonna...
They know that there's a problem. Yeah, but if you're just playing to play the game, it's a really, really good game. And then for 3, I'm going to throw in Bombfest for the party game, just because it is, again, just fun, hilarious, and you'll have a million laughs while you're playing it. So Figment, Padre, Bombfest.
Yeah, perfect.
How about you, CJ?
Yeah. Look, I'll go Figment as well. I'll have to put the Liar Princess up there as well. I thought that was fantastic. And even though it's going to take a ridiculous, to be honest, listeners, there isn't enough time left in my life to platinum farm together, I still think it deserves a place up there because I'm very much enjoying that as well. Do you have one, Mindy, you want to?
My list is going to be interesting because I'm going to populate with games that I think would be more fun than the ones from this list that I've actually played.
Oh, look at that. The list is not good enough for you. I see how it is. Please.
So Liar Princess is definitely on there. No, but in terms of what you listed on this specific list we've just gone through, I have played like 4 of these games. And of the 3 or 4 that I've actually played, and I have to make a top 3, only Liar Princess is going to be on there.
That's okay. You can add.
So just in terms of what I've seen and what you guys have said, I'll throw another one on Figment. I'll throw another one on Padre, and I kind of want to throw one on Riverbond here, just because I enjoyed 3D Dot Game Heroes. I still have to go back on my PS3 and finish it. Maybe someday. But yeah, it sounds like Figment is a win-win-win all around that everyone should be playing.
So look, listeners, Velvet told us at the start that she didn't want to do 2 hours of obnoxious talking with myself and Mindy, which I totally understand. But, as all my goals are to annoy other people and get them to do things they don't want to do, I have managed to stretch this out to 2 hours. So we sort of, it's a victory all around for us. But I think, listeners, you'll agree today, Velvet is clearly a fountain of information on this sort of stuff. So it was great. I very much enjoyed it, and I hope you did as well, Velvet.
I did. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So.
Hopefully, I'm thinking we may have to book you again for later in the year and do the second half of the year of indie game reviews.
For December. Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, perfect. And look, because it would be reminisce of me not to reminisce. I hate that word, and I say it so often, don't I, listeners? Remiss. What is it with me? I need a thesaurus. But anyway, that is my issue. I have to throw in just these. We weren't going to do spam, but then I saw this Truck Racing Championship and its sister stack, which will be the EU stack, FIA, European Truck Racing Championship. This is just what we need, a truck racing game.
That's the same game?
It's the same game, yeah. Same list. It's obviously the European. It must be a licensing issue. I don't know. Anyway, but that's in there, as well as whatever other spam stuff you find this week. But look, I don't want to drag it on any longer.
Like Focus on You, the photography game?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, we can do spam.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. Well, look. Why not? I've thrown out 2.
Well, the other reason is there's not much this week, is there? Not much has gone up.
Well, there's a Pick a Picks. There's 2 of those.
We did that last week.
But there's another new 2 that have just come up. This is not 2. This is the original
really?
Pick a Picks classic. Yeah, look at that.
Oh man, we've been talking that long.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the list since we've been going. That's even better. Oh, I like it. A little shout out to Summer Sports.
Oh, this new game with DLC First day DLC. Look
It's
at
never
this.
going to end, is
Oh
it?
my God.
Yeah. You know, New Star Manager, that is not spam. If you like football games, soccer, if you prefer, that's actually supposed to be quite good. That's been on the Switch for some time, that game. So, yeah, I don't know. And another site. I don't know if either of you two have come across this game. This is a really beautiful game. You would like this game, Mindy.
Oh no, this is on my list of games to guide. This is the one that the trophy list didn't sync for like 2 months.
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
And it's finally syncing, right?
Well, the funny thing is, I have the Hong Kong version of this, and mine is not syncing. So I have a feeling there may be 2 stacks, and this is actually the EU version or NA version that's stacking. That's synced. Yeah, French. I'd say that's what it is. So if you're buying this, definitely don't buy it on the Hong Kong store, because I have a feeling that list is not up yet, and that's been out even longer than the other version. So yeah. That could be something to check, Mindy, before you start. You might want to think about that.
Yikes.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why these things happen. To test us, I'm sure. So, look, listeners, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to thank Velvet. Could you, if we're trying to find you, Velvet, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at 8bits of velvet, and then on YouTube at 8bits of velvet. And then
That's number 8 or spelling out 8?
Number 8. And then if you're ever looking for trophy guides or anything, I am Velvet across all the sites: PlayStationTrophies.org, PS3Imports.org, and PSNProfiles.com. And that should cover all bases.
Excellent. And where can we find you, Mindy?
Twitter at The Mind Is a City. And right now I'm mostly active on PlayStationTrophies.org with Velvet. On the guide team. She's not on the guide team, but she is there writing guides. I am there writing guides and helping her write guides.
I'm making sure they have, work to do.
I like it. And listeners, don't forget, if you're using these guides, don't forget to drop in a comment at the end or whatever of their guides, thanking them for it and how you enjoyed it, because we all owe them a huge amount. I'm sure you would agree. Most of us would not be able to plat these games in anywhere near the time we do without their hard work, massive time and effort and commitment. So please do that. If you're looking for the show, we're everywhere. We're YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and iTunes. We're also on Twitter, run by the wonderful The Mind Is a City, at push2plat, the number 2plat. Please feel free to leave a comment, a question, or whatever you like. And as I forgot to do for the last few weeks, please remind people, that we exist. If you know anyone that's just grinding away at a game and wants to listen to, people talk, we're here. Give us a like, give us a dislike, subscribe, or whatever you do, but it helps us out in the long run. So I'd like to thank both Mindy and Velvet for today. And listeners, happy trophy hunting. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.